Hi everyone, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us. Well, we've got a cooler change and colder in some areas across New Zealand for Thursday. It came in over Wednesday night with quite dramatic conditions in some parts of the South Island, a really big temperature drop. Some places tumbled from around 30 to around 10 in a very short time, and big strong wind gusts as well. So that system is starting to fall apart. This is it here, and you can actually quite clearly see it. We've put the temperatures on the wind map today. So Australia's hot, New Zealand is not. We've got the cooler southerlies all the way up as far north as Northland, and that's what we've got for the rest of Thursday. But this big high, in fact these highs out to the west, they are coming in, and we've got some very hot weather on the way for both islands. Let's kick off with Friday. So these systems are merging together. We've got a big high pressure system rolling in across New Zealand. It's going to be a little bit cloudy in the north still, with a few drizzly showers, and there may be a heavier isolated downpour later in the day, mostly inland. Most other places are dry, and the South Island, you warm back up again after your cold Thursday. To the weekend now, and it's the long weekend for the upper North Island. Half of New Zealand has a 3-day weekend, and you'll be pleased to know high pressure is in charge. So you've got light winds. Now there might be a couple of showers remaining left over from that front we've seen today. Not a huge amount, and the temperature's pretty warm. In fact, we're getting up to the 30-degree mark now as these warm nor'westers come through. Some areas in the east might only get into the mid to late 20s, but it's still going to be warm either way, and it warms back up again in the south. Windy, rain around Fiordland, and a few showers coming into Southland. By Sunday, rain or showers moves up the west coast. Maybe a little bit of cloud now around Taranaki, Wanganui, Manawatu, Horowhenua. A couple of drizzly showers in there. We're going to talk about upcoming rainfall in a moment for the next 2 weeks though, so stick with us. That high is still in charge in the north, and it's hot in the east. Places in the late 20s, early 30s. Let's get to Monday, and we're going to start with a thing that you might have already noticed if you're looking at Hawke's Bay. Notice that little red love heart? We didn't make that. That's naturally made by the computer models, because in this zone, that's the hottest part of the country. So we might be seeing, low to maybe mid-30s, 32s, 33s, maybe a 34. It's going to be a hot day though for those eastern areas, so long as the sun comes out. If it's a bit cloudier, you can probably kiss those mid-30s goodbye anyway. It'll be mostly cloudy in some of these western areas, and it is still wet on the west coast. You've got drier weather coming once we get into next week, but a little bit wet though for you at the moment. Let's get into next week now. We get to Tuesday, further into next week, and we've still got that hot weather. You can see a little red line around Northland there. It's some hot weather coming up for you. Low 30s likely inland, and still got some wet weather on the west coast. It really is stuck there for a few days, so sorry about that, but you do have better weather coming. We've got more highs, and the next lot of highs are going to start to drift a little further south. That will calm things down for the South Island. This week has been a real mess. Hasn't been like summer at all. Now let's get into the rainfall. This map might be a little confusing. I'll break it down for you. This is the next 14 days, the next 2 weeks of total rainfall accumulation. In other words, how much rain is coming for the next half a month. So here's the scale down here. Now some people find it a little confusing that it starts with blue and ends with blue. The dark blue, that is this stuff here. It's usually surrounded by purple as well. That's usually an indicator of heavy rain. So the heaviest rain on the west coast for the next couple of weeks, that could be up around 200, maybe 300 millimeters of rain. So that's kind of a lot, but it's also normal, especially down around Fiordland and South Westland. And once you get up to the more populated places, you're looking at 60 millimeters, maybe 70 millimeters over the next 2 weeks, which is not problematic. Then you go further north. We're now going to go to the drier end of the scale. That's down here, pale blues and greens. So remember I said the heavy rain, this blue here, is surrounded by purple. Well, the light rain and the light blue is surrounded by green. You probably won't remember this, but I'm sharing it with you anyway. So these areas up here, all of this blue is light rain. This is just 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 millimeters over the next 14 days. Some of the areas you see in orange, that could be some heavier downpours inland. That's where you get around 30 or 40 millimeters. So we're talking about 1 millimeter to 40 millimeters at the most, and that's got to be under one of those big downpours. So some very dry weather coming. The driest areas, Northland or the far north, Auckland, some parts of Waikato and Coromandel, some parts of Taranaki, Horowhenua, Wellington, as well. Wellington's in there, Nelson as well, and then some parts around Christchurch and North Canterbury. All of those areas are looking very dry. So we'll keep you up to date over the next week or two as we look at more rain potentially arriving around the middle of February. But until then, more of these big highs coming in from the west looks likely. That is all from me. We'll update you again on Friday with the latest.